Thank you so much, sir, and namaste to the panel. This is such an honor to be amongst personalities as like everybody else. I'm very nervous right now. My armpits are sweaty. You can't see. Moving on. I think it is like everybody said. It is a massive, massive shock. None of us saw this coming. Nobody was prepared for it. Not our audiences. Not people spending time on the internet. Not young people, not older people. I think that is something that's come very new to everybody. One major concerns that a major chunk of my target audience ranges from the age of 13 to 28. So it starts very, very, very young. And one major conversational point that we've noticed um, coming up time and again in my comment section or in my direct messages is mental health. I think that,
Mental well-being.
yes, mental well-being, where there is a lot of questions, there's a lot of concerns, there's a lot of, because um, when all of this started, a lot of our younger audiences were very happy that they don't have to go and give exams. They were very happy that they don't have to go to school every day. It was one of those things that, oh, okay, all right, I mean, I can go to school in my pajamas by sitting at home, and that was a concept which was very new and exciting to everybody. But slowly and steadily, as the days keep piling on top of each other, I think one of the major concerns coming about is mental well-being, which is why I feel like someone who has whatever reach that I do, whatever impact that I do to my audiences, one thing that I've been actively doing is making conversations around mental health and well-being. Another thing that's coming up a lot amongst the youngsters is like the pressure to productivity. Like, is this a time where we have to spend all our time being the best versions of ourselves? And what if we're not feeling like it? I mean, we are feeling pressure to be productive.
Absolutely.
What do we do about that? It's very, because you never know how one is ever going to react, or how one is ever going to adapt to situations like these. Everybody has a different way of looking at it, everyone has a different way of dealing with it, which is not necessarily being productive. It's not always like that for everybody, which is why another thing that I think can be helpful is by not being on either ends of the spectrum. You know what I mean? Where let's
No
not,
extremes.
yeah, no extremes. Let's not be in a point where we're like, oh my God, I have to wake up at 6 o'clock and I have to work out and I have to work and I have to write and I have to do all of this. And then, let's not be that strict, but also let's not be on the other end where you just don't move or you just don't do anything and you're sleeping all day or you're not being productive at all. I think right now, the most efficient way of staying mentally healthy, of staying, uh, uh, you know, keeping, how do I say, keeping the creative juices flowing, keeping the machine running a little bit, is by sort of trying to find a middle between these two extremes and not going to either side. Also, conversation, I think, like everyone on the panel discussed, I think
Communicate more.
and conversation goes a long, long, long. I have always been a super positive advocate of conversation. I think personally, everything can be solved with conversation. So another thing that I'm very happy that's happening on the internet is that these conversations are actually happening, where people are tweeting out what they're feeling, where people are sharing what they're feeling, where people are writing things down in comments. They're making videos where they talk about what they're going through, what they're not going through. They're sort of helping each other get through this. So I think conversation is another great way of sort of holding each other's hand to make sure we get out of it safe. I have been getting so many messages lately, where my audience is sharing their daily routines. They literally write messages telling me that, hey, you know what, I used to wake up at 2 in the afternoon usually, but after I watched your message or after I see your stories, I started waking up at 10. And then I do this, and then because you read a book, I started reading a book. And then at the end of the day, when I go to sleep, I feel like it's going to be okay. So these are a lot of messages that are happening, but when it comes to the impact, or when it comes to sort of conversion of the conversation, there's this very old story. This incident happened a couple years ago. So I made a song about body shaming, against body shaming, called Shameless. And that was out. I remember at one of my meet and greets, there was this very young viewer who came up to me, and she told me, hey, look, my legs aren't shaved because I think it's extremely painful, hair removal, but at the same time, I really like wearing shorts. So thanks to your video, now I don't care what people think, and I'm going to wear what I want to wear, and that's the sort of empowerment that you've given. I feel like that point in my life was such a shifting factor for me to just get a realization of the sort of impact that's happening or the sort of reach that I'm having. And I feel like that is always something that I have in mind every time I'm creating any sort of content. Right now, as younger people, I think it's very important that we sort of not beat ourselves up by worrying too much about the future and take one day at a time, because I know it is tough and there is nothing that you can really put your finger on that this is how life is going to be once we step out of this lockdown, or this is how it's going to be say 5 years from now. There is no way of sort of mapping that out for yourself. So I think a is, I think, by taking charge of your own life, by sort of starting one day at a time, sort of taking life as it comes and adapting as quickly and as efficiently as you can. I think other than that, again, like I mentioned before, conversation is something that you can really put your bets on when it comes to becoming a student leader or becoming, you know what, right now I feel like more than leaders, I think what younger people need is friends. More than leaders, I think it's why not try to become a friend? Why not reach out to your classmates? Why not reach out to people that you used to play cricket with in your apartment complex? Why not sort of stay in touch? Why not make sure that everyone that we know or that we used to know, now is a great time to go to that inactive WhatsApp group on your WhatsApp chat from your school or college days, which is no more active because everybody got busy working or everybody moved out of that college or that school. So I think more than a leader, I think as younger people, I think we really should become more compassionate and sort of more accommodative when it comes to making conversations around this, because I feel like taking one day at a time and holding each other's hands through this will. I think there's two exercises that I have been doing. Number one is that I actively try not to again put that pressure of productivity on myself, where I don't let the numbers graph, or I don't let the views, or I don't let the comments sort of get to me towards a point where I feel like, okay, now is a nice time for me to sort of buck up, and I don't put that sort of pressure of productivity on myself. But having said that, doing what I do is my absolute favorite thing to do in life. Like, one of my favorite things to do is perform. I love writing. I love speaking. I love doing these things, which is why what's working really well for me is that I feel really grateful and blessed that I get, although I am locked down at home, I still get to live this life that I absolutely enjoy. So it's sort of like a circle that's interdependent on each other, where what motivates me uh, to get up every day and work is also something that I motivate myself to work towards. I think one prediction that I really think I'm hoping comes true is that I feel like no matter how old, no matter how young, I think we'll start taking things that we have a little more seriously. We'll stop taking things for granted as much as we were before. We'll start respecting things that we have. We'll start respecting people that we have around us. We'll start respecting what we have already in life more than we were before this lockdown. So I think for me, the brighter side of coming out of this lockdown is going to be that I will sort of have more gratitude than I was when I first entered it. I mean, in my head, I am a great singer, but
It's okay.
I have sort of taken multiple opinions only to find out
The,
otherwise.
it's not you got talent, so it's okay. In your case, you really got lots of talent. I'm saying you can sing for us. We won't run away. Trust me.
I
We
have
won't run away.
okay, I frankly wasn't prepared for a performance. I mean, all the singing that I have been doing in quarantine is just horrible recreations of already amazing songs. There's this song called Counting Stars. It's a beautiful song. I love it. And being me, I completely ruined it and made it into a quarantine anthem. Again, I'm not a singer or a player, but don't mind, please. All right. Okay. Lately, I've been getting bored, dreaming about the things I used to do outdoors. And baby, I've been on my own. Can't wait for this to end so I can leave my home. So I can leave my home.